All right. It's just the girls today. What's up?
It is. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of Old Renewer for December. Happy holidays, everyone.
And happy Amanda's birthday month. So this month is
Yay!
full of, as per Old Reader New Reader tradition,
Yes.
the person who has birthday month gets to choose all the books for the month.
Yes.
And so it is Amanda's.
So technically, it's
turn.
always Omar's pick, like all the
Well,
time.
you know what I mean. That's when we get
Yes.
to, like,
we get to
use
show
it.
what we love.
Yeah.
Yes. So, good evening, everyone. And obviously, you know me, since it's Amanda. There's going to be a lot of Marvel this month because that's a lot what I've read before. Yeah. And we're going to start with, the funny thing is, guys, is that one of the Tuesdays is actually my actual birthday. It was December 29th. And I think we're reading Hickman's Fantastic Four. So that's my real legit birthday. I was born on December 29th. So that's kind of exciting. So, and since it's a Tuesday, I'm not doing anything on Tuesday except being here with you guys.
That's right.
So today we're talking about Jason Aaron's Doctor Strange run. So I have the two oversized hardcovers here.
Yeah, and then I read it on Comixology. So if anybody at home has a Comixology Unlimited subscription, you can read these all. I mean, they're all available on the Unlimited, and I assume as well Marvel Unlimited. But how I read it was Comixology Unlimited, so it worked out great. And yeah, we're right, like 20 issues plus 2 like annuals or 2 like special ones. Oh no, Amanda, we lost you, or we lost me. I'm not sure.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. No, you're good. I'm fine. We're back. I just realized I had changed my internet, which just took 2 seconds.
Well, it was great.
So,
you were like,
I had a good look on my face. So. That is phenomenal. Yeah. But Maddie, how are you? If anyone hasn't checked out, Maddie bought a new house, moved in, and she redid her kitchen, and it looks fabulous.
Well, if anyone hasn't checked in front of me, all of my poor books are down in like the basement, but that's also where all the other stuff is until it has a place to go.
You have a basement?
So, yeah,
you're very lucky. Oh, that's fancy. I don't even have a basement.
It's a comic book room basement now. So, but I can see my books from far away. But there's just a sea of stuff in the way. So I don't know how long it'll be until I can record in front of things. So now it's just like, here's my things that aren't put away behind.
You're like, here's things.
Yeah.
I see Moose's bed over there, so that's good.
Yeah, I did kick him out of the room so he wouldn't pick up the snorts, but
yeah, all my dogs annoy me because my door doesn't shut. Yes, so obviously all this month we are going to be doing books that I either have read or books that I have wanted to read but I haven't got a chance to, because I have a lot of books on my shelf that I have not yet had a chance to read. So we'll get to see some of those this month as well. Except tonight's book is actually the first comic book outside of anything I had done on Old Reader New Reader that I've actually read on my own. So
Jason Aaron, first Doctor Strange. It's not my first Jason Aaron.
But yeah, because we did
Thor. Love Thor.
Oh yeah, exactly. But, and then we did
first Doctor Strange, weirdly. Mm-hmm.
And War of the Realms, yeah. But it's
he's in things, you know what I mean? But not his first just by himself. So that was a big switch.
Exactly, which is so interesting because I picked this up because I've always wanted to read Doctor Strange comics, and it was in 2018 that obviously it just finished. It was a more recent, because it finished in 2017 and it was the most recent run, right? So I was like, I want to read some Doctor Strange. It was all over comic book stores. So I started picking up some of the trade paperbacks, and eventually I was able to then trade those trade paperbacks in for these two guys, the 2 volumes.
Which are nice. I mean, that's a good way to break it. I feel like it was breaking up really well too.
It was. And plus I got this one signed by Chris Bacalo, which is the artist of
nice with all the eyes.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah, the majority of the artwork for these issues too. So that's pretty cool.
Did Jason Aaron have the time?
Because I mean, if you
so many things at the same time, I don't know how he does it.
Because we know Jane Foster's Thor. So there were really spoilers, guys, during this episode, obviously. But Jane Foster's Thor makes an appearance in this run, which obviously Jason Aaron's writing at the time.
Yeah, which I mean works great. Yes. Because at least you're like, oh, okay, you have to borrow. You have to talk to the writer and be like, hey,
he knew how he wrote her.
I'm already writing her at the same time.
Exactly.
And still leading up into War of the Realms and reading these. I mean, like, this is a long run for a writer still.
20 issues, yeah. So
and
it ran for
at
20
the same
issues.
time to write Thor. I was like,
he's impressive. Yeah, Jason Aaron's very impressive, to say the least. And this is the first first Doctor Strange series that we've seen, long-running series, since 1996. So Jason Aaron's picking. Yeah, exactly. So, and it happens right after Secret Wars. So obviously Secret Wars had happened, the Hickman Secret Wars, which we've read here on Old Reader New Reader. And so this is kind of taking place after everything like that. And what's interesting about the book is I've never read any Doctor Strange before in my life. I picked it up because obviously I'd seen the Benedict Cumberbatch Marvel movie that had come out. I am into superheroes, but also the magical element. I thought Doctor Strange somehow was a fascinating character to me. So to pick it up and read it for the first time, like I said, it was the first comic I've read outside of reading whatever we had to read for Old Reader New Reader. I found it very enthralling, and it is kind of almost like a reboot of what a traditional Doctor Strange comic probably would have been.
Yeah, and I feel like it flowed really well, and like I feel like it was still pretty new reader friendly. I mean, there's obviously some characters in here that I didn't know.
Yes.
Like, but I was okay with that going in. I was like, okay, I know Doctor Strange. I know his bit, know his deal. And I know that the surrounding cast of characters is going to be similar to like reading Justice League Dark, which I have more, experience with, including Man-Thing, which just makes me laugh when I see him.
Yes.
Because they're the same character. But no, it was definitely very new reader friendly. It flowed really well. It just like,
yes,
they obviously immediately gave him a lot of personality. This is a character you can definitely get into, and like his little like posse, right? Like Wong, of course, that we know for the movies, and then his new librarian assistant. It was great. Like it's a crew you can fall in love with quickly, especially when you're like you and me, who tend to like supernatural procedural shows.
We do. We love them. Yes, it makes sense.
You have a wacky crew mixed match that live in a house together, and they have to like solve
with kind of like that hero with that he has a little bit of an ego, but he's a little bit of a strange womanizer, but like with supernatural magical beings.
Yeah, like every great sci-fi channel original show, or like CW. Like, yeah, this is something I understand. This is a narrative I get.
Yes, exactly. And it's great. And the way that Jason Aaron broke it down is wonderful. There's pretty much three major arcs throughout this 20-issue run. So the first 10 issues focus on the Empirical, which is a group of super science soldiers, if you will, who, because of their leaders' history with magic, are out to destroy all of magic. Okay. And it reaches different dimensions.
Sorry, I don't know if you ever saw that bit of Benedict Cumberbatch.
No, does he say penguin?
Penguin, because what he says. Well, Benedict Cumberbatch in this documentary he did. Sorry, but that was really good.
Is it a documentary?
Yeah, I'll show you the video.
Is it like an Earth one? Okay.
I'm going to send it to you.
Well, if he has an American accent, I hope he wouldn't, but knowing you have Benedict Cumberbatch, you probably would. And we have a lot of people here today. We have Trish and Shonda Sook, Dat Boy Steve. I'm so glad to see you guys. I know it's been a month.
Well, I always see Dat Boy Steve on Twitter. And Trish, you're breaking my heart because you've just named everybody that's not me.
I know.
You're Sacramento and Omar. She's like, week. Nah, Maddie, no, old hat. This girl's here every week. No.
Yeah, and Omar will be back next week for Spider-Man Worldwide. Yeah. So he'll be back next week. Because we were supposed to do it on Tuesday, but we were still doing some issues with moving and things like that. So we moved it to today, and Tuesday was actually, I
appreciate.
Oh, of course. And Tuesday was actually Melanie's birthday. So if any of you haven't said happy birthday to Melanie, make sure you do. So obviously Omar took off to spend time with his wife. So we weren't going to do it then. But he will be back next week. So So there's the Empirical run, which is 10 issues. And then we kind of have a really cool run of several issues where he gets to meet with some of his former nemesis that you've probably seen from former Doctor Strange comics or the Doctor Strange movies, like Dormammu, Shuma Gorath, Nightmare, which, funny enough, the Nightmare run in this is actually what gave me the inspiration to write the fan fiction I wrote for Spider-Man. So
we bring it back.
And we're bringing it back. And then Santana and, of course, Mordo. So all those great storylines that you get to see in that second one. And then the third arc is really just wrapping up the whole arc of Jason Aaron's run with Mr. Misery, and bringing it all back full circle to the kitchen, no less, that Zelma first encounters in the first 10 issues. And she's like, the kitchen's trying to kill me. And he did warn her about the kitchen. So
yeah, bless her heart. Poor Zelma.
I know, poor Zelma. So I guess
whoa, hey, no flirting with Amanda over live, Corey. Just kidding.
Hello, honey. And he's actually, right before this, I was over at our friend's house. My husband's one of the guys that my husband goes to drill with in the National Guard moved down the street from us, like literally like 2 blocks away, if you will. And so we were just over there having beers and pizza, and it was an amazing time. And his wife just drove me back so I could do the show with you guys. Because I love you guys that much. I want to make sure I'm here for you because I promised you this week we'd start Amanda Month, and it's phenomenal. So anyways, I'm glad I'm back, and I'm glad I'm with you, everyone here tonight. So let's get started, I guess, talking about Doctor Strange. You ready, Maddie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's first talk about the first OHC kind of goes into the empiricals. So basically, we're introduced to a kind of new Doctor Strange where the old rules of magic don't really apply so much. It's kind of the idea, which you've seen in a lot of other things before, a lot of mediums where magic has a price, right? And Monaco, which is a gentleman that hangs out at the bar with no name with Scarlet Witch and Dr. Voodoo and all those characters that you probably vaguely are familiar with from previous Marvel comics, all these magical beings that hang out. And he basically is telling Doctor Strange, look, your tab is coming due. Magic has a price, and I kill a rabbit every time I do some magic, and you're going to have to take care of your tab at one time.
Yeah, which is a great forewarning about that. I love this, like the setting of the scene.
Yes,
he did it with them. Yeah, like you said, under the guise of like a tab, like at a bar, because they're in a bar.
Yeah,
of course. And you kind of talk a little bit about the cost of magic, so you know that like it's coming seriously, like it's gonna be tough, and it is, right? Because there's like there's something coming, and it could mean the end of magic completely, which is a great storyline. I mean, it doesn't matter however you see it in stories and comic books or regular books. Like, that's great. Like, how are you going to fight it? What are you going to do? How are you going to reinvent magic? Like,
it's crazy. Yes, and that is exactly what Jason Aaron has set out to do. He is taking a lot of the old rules that apply to magic, especially for Doctor Strange magic, and he's transforming it into something new, which I think is very exciting for this.
And very Jason Aaron.
Oh, I agree.
You take a hero, he loses his powers, right? Or he loses what makes him,
Yep.
And then he has to find new ways to like bring himself back and like rebuild his ego and his self-esteem. I see you, Jason. I know what you're doing.
I know. He's so smart. So you have this whole idea of this thing's coming through. And like Maddie said, she's right. Little things are happening that Doctor Strange is noticing. Like there are different magical beings or entities that are coming into our world seeking almost an asylum, right? Because something is coming and they feel it. And that's kind of like how you know when a tsunami and things like that are coming, right? When things are seeking shelter somewhere else. So it's that same analogy. And that kind of what draws Zelma Stanton, which is our new character that is introduced into the Doctor Strange lore, comes to being. She's a librarian from the Bronx who has this weird, strange mind maggot that has implanted itself in her head. And she tried to go to the hospital and they freaked out because they see these jaws in her head. So of course, where does she go? Well, she hears the rumblings about a man on Bleecker Street in New York City, in Greenwich Village, called Doctor Strange. So she goes to visit him, and immediately the two of them kind of form some type of relationship. And thank you for the super chat. Cyclops is better than Wolverine. And he said, I wish Strange went to the bar with no doors more. I would agree with that.
Place.
I think that was fantastic. And I don't think that that part got enough love in this
love
comic.
magic bars. It reminds me of there's another like magic, like a modern magical television show, Lost Girl, and they have like a bar they go to. It's just for like the fantasy people, and I love stuff like that.
I do too. I think they even did something like that, very similar in like Buffy or Angel, where didn't they have like a place where they kind of would congregate? I know it's not the bronze, but that's just where the kids hung out.
Yeah, because we did the magic shop. No, yeah, because never mind, there was a basement where all the bad guys hung out, like where they would like gamble kittens and stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You always have to have one of those places. So, so you have this. There's all these little things. So he's introduced to Zelma, and of course, in the very beginning, which is a theme that's played throughout, is we get to see some really cool parts of the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is just this crazy magical world within a building, right? Has a crazy history, and the whole reason we get to see all of it is because Zelma and Doctor Strange are chasing these mind maggots throughout there, right? And we get to see a little bit of like the kitchen, which plays a big part towards the end of this arc. We get to find out that Wong is there, and we get to see what Wong is doing there. And we get to see a little bit of the whole idea of Doctor Strange taking in these mystical, magical beings into his body, inflicting this pain upon himself, and where does it go, right? And that plays a big part throughout this entire issue.
Oh, yeah. And very Constantine from DC feelings.
100%. Yes, I get a lot of Constantine out of it, right?
Especially with the house, but also with the, taking every negative. Yeah.
Exactly. So at the same time, we're seeing these almost like robotic or super science beings that are attacking Sorcerer Supremes in other dimensions. And they're trying to warn other Sorcerer Supremes, but of course, these beings are stronger and much more powerful than they are. The Empirical is what they're called. And so they're able to go in and defeat all these sorcerers. And they have these machines that deplete magic, which is insane, right? From the world. And so, of course, we start to see this with Doctor Strange, not only seeing like the asylum seekers coming into our world, but also he's starting to see that magical entities, magical objects within his own world are starting to lose their own power. And he's like, why can't my crimson bands or whatever, I can't remember the name of them, why are they working for me? Like, Belize's cloak is still working because that cloak is amazing. And I love that it continues to have personality throughout everything. And so we've come to find out that we have this group from eons away that is coming to destroy magic everywhere. Why? Because the Imperator, which is their leader, has pretty much a vengeance he wants to take on magic. Because where he comes from, magic was used in a way, these monks, these magicians, use their magic to appease a evil being known as Shuma Gorath, which we all know, if you understand anything about Doctor Strange lore, is a villain of Doctor Strange. So he can't delineate good magic from bad magic, and so he thinks all magic should disappear. So he's been going through each dimension, destroying magic, and so now he's come to our dimension. And so Doctor Strange and his friends, we get Scarlet Witch, Doctor Voodoo, Monaco, Shandu.
So many weird names.
Medico, Mystico. And I'm assuming there's so many who will probably have a lot of lore. For Maddie and I, who are not too familiar with
I was like, there's Scarlet Witch.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, there's Dr. Voodoo sounds familiar.
And then a bunch of really long, like, random names. And if Omar was here, I would name drop Slayers because it reminds me a lot of Slayers, like the spells and stuff. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. These weird.
Manny, thank you. Manny said Crimson Bands of Sidorak. Thank you. That is correct. So, yes. So we have all of them having to band together because the Empirical make their way into our Earth. And as Doctor Strange is trying to find out what's happening, all of a sudden we start seeing these, they call them the Witchfinder wolves. They are coming and attacking. They're the machines are coming and attacking different magical areas like Machu Picchu or the Himalayas, which is where we find out Wong has been hiding these secret disciples of Strange, which basically are people who have given their lives to accepting the pain that Doctor Strange would inflict upon himself to do the magic that he chooses to do. They take the pain so that he can remain strong and continue to do the magic he does.
Which was such a neat thing to bring in.
I think so too.
Because like he had been acting reckless this whole time. And then of course that kind of changed once he sees them. He's like, wait a second, no, this is mine to take. This is my tab. This isn't theirs. So when Wong's like, hey, no, they want to do this. And he's like, no. I am not going to let these like 10 dudes just take my pain. That's not the deal.
But Wong's like, no, they accepted this. And Michael, thank you for your by the bluish bonds of Backstreet Boys. That's gonna be my new Doctor Strange.
There you go.
Spell. So you have that issue. And then of course, so Zelma kind of has found herself in the middle of all of this after she is essentially saved by Doctor Strange, who ends up taking all the mind maggots for himself because he is able to protect himself from their magic. So eventually they'll starve and die in his body. So it's just fine. Good for him. So she decides that he asked her to come and catalog his library. So she's hanging out at the Sanctum Sanctorum. Super jealous of that. Awesome responsibility that she has.
Yeah, one day a week, but sometimes has to leave to go to yoga, which I appreciate. The girl has a life outside of the library.
Yes, she's not just his librarian, but a darn good librarian who's willing to help him because she believes in
Dr. There's no romantic
not at all.
Sexual relationship between the two, which also is appreciated because you
almost because the first I think 3 or 4 pages of this, we get him having sex with that, or we assume having sex with that one magical entity that was leading her asylum seekers.
Yeah, with all of her like tentacles or like at least extra like spider looking limbs, as one would. I mean, you can't fault the man.
No, you can't. I mean, I understand. I'll tell you, he has definitely more personality than I expected Doctor Strange to have. That's for sure.
Right. It was a lot. It felt a lot more like Tony Stark adjacent than I was expecting.
100%, which is not surprising. Then later to see and I know I always bring up
on a lot of levels.
Yeah,
like not just the sleeping with a bunch of ladies, but also just like the taking everything on his shoulders deal to like his own detriment, would rather kill himself.
Yes, I'd rather
than hurt others.
Exactly, and the arrogance that comes with it. Yeah, which makes sense because he was a world-renowned surgeon and he had to find his way. Where else can he be great? He's a sorcerer supreme now, the master of the mystic art.
Yeah, it's just a little bit different from like the Doctor Strange movie we saw, right? Because he's like that in the beginning, and then it's kind of like through meditation and practice,
he changes a little bit.
Yeah, and then this guy's still like, nah.
I'm still me. Because we even get to see that later on, which we'll talk about in a little bit, his nightmare scenario. So as he's figuring out, we have the big showdown in this with the Empirical and all of our magical beings that we've come to know so far. Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Dr. Voodoo, all happens at the Sanctum Sanctorum after they have completely demolished all these different magical places like Machu Picchu and the Himalayas and everything like that. Meanwhile, Wong and Zelma are at the temple where the disciples are, and all these people, because magic now is gone. The Empirical has managed to devour and deplete magic from our world. Pretty much almost. Like Doctor Strange and his friends are going through every nook and cranny, trying to find every ounce of magic, every little object, the dragon lines within the earth, everything they can find to fight these Empirical and defeat them, right? And these people, they show this really interesting they found the montage of regular people who've experienced magic somewhere in their lives, right? Including an allusion to Harry Potter, which I found extremely funny, and Aladdin with the magic carpet.
Right. It was so cool. She's like, this kid, who like magic was going to get him out of his like really bad situation. Prophecy goes unfulfilled. And it's just this kid with like a little wand, obviously, and a little like.
Oh, yes. He don't look like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But it's very smart. If you're clever enough, you'll figure it out. And so all these people who have experienced magic somehow find themselves drawn to go to Tibet, which is, of course, the original place where Dr. Strange, Wong have learned their secrets of their magic, their sorcery, the ancient one where he was at. They've all come because know they're missing something, and Wong is basically asking them to help. Believe in magic, believe in Doctor Strange, come take this on yourself, right? And so that's the big theme that we see throughout all of these is like magic has this cost, and it comes at taking from other people, taking from yourself, and putting on these different, and just, taking these on into yourself, and that's how you can get your magic. So when Doctor Strange finds out about this, he is not too happy with Wong. He makes all the secret disciples disperse, but of course Zelma stays behind because she believes in Doctor Strange, and she knows if she's there and if he can take her energy and use it for himself, that he still has a chance to fight. And so we kind of have this showdown with Doctor Strange and the Empirical's leader, Imperator is what his name is. And he kind of talks about why he has come to hate magic so much, right? We have his parents were people of science, and the monks, who are very much magical, were against them. They call them heretics. They wanted to sacrifice them to Shumagorath and their son, which is the Imperator, but they helped him, and he managed to escape. And so here he has built himself up in order to come forth and destroy magic as we know it. And so Zelma's coming in. Wong comes in and helps her. Doctor Strange is back to Sanctum Sanctorum. And then we also see the terrible demise of Monaco, the man who warned Doctor Strange at the beginning about the price magic has to pay.
Mm-hmm.
He sacrifices himself to save everyone else, to give them a little bit more time. So that is also something that happens that is very important too within this. So of course that's weighing on Doctor Strange. So he's coming back to fight the Imperator. And while the Imperator's Inquisitors, which are all of his minions, are coming out trying to take every piece of magic out of the Sanctum Sanctorum, they unleash something in the cellar, which is this being, this entity that is of Doctor Strange and Wong's creation, which is something that whenever something bad happened to Doctor Strange, they took his despair, his anguish, and he put it in this cellar, and it created this entity, which will later call himself Mr. Misery. And this thing is alive.
Such a name.
Such a name. So perfect. And so this being, it's funny because it's obviously a bad guy, but it ends up helping Doctor Strange in the end to defeat the Imperator, who ends up getting defeated.
Right, because he's like, hey, you can kill me and everything, but that guy's going to kill you for sure.
Exactly.
We should probably just team up together and we'll both make it out.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you want another cider?
I do.
What are you drinking?
Cider, boys. 1 second. I'll be right back. I'll grab another one because Elliot won't bring it to me.
Which one are you drinking?
First Press. Just a regular one.
I like their mimosa. That is my favorite cider, boys.
Okay, no judgment.
Okay,
I'll
so
be right back.
I'll keep going with the synopsis. So, the Empiricals are able to, or Doctor Strange and all of his cohorts are able to defeat the Empirical. However, we still come with the idea that, well, magic's dead. We've defeated them, but magic's dead. So it's an interesting thing where we finished the first 10 issues, where the heroes saved the day, but did they save the day because magic is still gone? Which is a very interesting premise. And so we enter into the next section where magic is slowly regrowing itself. And at the same time, Doctor Strange and other magical beings are trying to find ways to utilize magic, but differently this time, right? Because magic is not within our area the same way it was. Did you get your cider boy? I didn't know you like cider boy.
I love cider.
Me too. Well, I like cider boys. I like their mimosa, and I like their strawberry magic is really good too. Yeah.
Any cider.
Yes. They sell the mimosa on draft at Galvin's here in Georgetown, so I will go, and do that.
Sorry, guys. I normally wouldn't do this, but
I've already had several beers, so what is happening? Elliot is getting Michael. Elliot
justice for Elliot. Normally, Hayden is not Team Elliot, so I'm surprised.
I know, right? No, Shonda Sook. Cider Boys is a Wisconsin brewed
Oh, is it?
cider. Yeah.
We've got a good local place too. Pivot.
Oh, they have it there? Or is that that's a cider
It's a cider
place.
brewery. It's really good.
What about is Wise Guys the one downtown?
I don't know.
There's a cider place where like the Crank and Boom and stuff are.
Oh,
in that area. I think it's Wise Guys.
Maybe it's Wise. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because it has the owl. Yeah, so they have pretty good cider too.
Anyways,
sorry
guys for the random.
Sorry guys.
Kentucky cider breweries. Congo.
Oh, Jessica helped us out.
Wise Birds.
Wise Birds. Thank you, Jessica. Wait, Jessica, what'd you say? I finished a book and pretty much forgot everything that happened in 24 hours. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that this is helping you. Because I literally just finished rereading it up till I had to go do some other stuff. So that's great. Thank you for that. So the next few issues of Doctor Strange after the Empirical have destroyed magic. So magic is coming back very slowly, right? So now things are a little bit different. But all of a sudden, all these different enemies of Doctor Strange, old enemies that if you are a fan of Doctor Strange or have read his comics previously would be familiar, start coming at him, right? Because obviously they are probably aware that magic is gone. Strange is probably at his weakest at this point in time. And so they come at him. First is Mordo, Carl Mordo, which we might see in the next Doctor Strange. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And he is under the direction of Dormammu, the Dread Dormammu. And they're basically there to kill Strange. Before he gets a chance, Strange is taken by another nightmare and into the nightmare dimension. So he has a very interesting dream where he's a world-class surgeon still. He sleeps with girls in his mansion every night. And Wong and Zelma are trying to save him. And they do that by going to sleep and entering his dreams, which is exactly the kind of same thing I use for my Spider-Man fan fiction.
Yeah, it's great because he can tell from the beginning that there's something wrong, but he's not quite sure. He's like, wait a second, my hand couldn't do that before. Or like, hey,
yes,
in my house there's something weird in the cellar. Like, isn't there something? There's something weird. And this part where they're like, because Zelma's throwing books down there. It's like, see, you read books, and like all the girls like, he doesn't read books, he reads bodies. Like,
I know, right? I was like, this
okay.
So you have it. So you have him fighting Nightmare, and he's able to defeat Nightmare, and then only to get sucked into hell by Satana, who basically
hell
wants
seemed dope.
Yeah, it's
in the book. Honestly, Satana, very attractive lady, and she had a cool little diner. I was like, oh, this isn't too bad.
A diner. Place. She just wanted to make him a sideshow in hell, basically, and she force-fed him some really bad meat that was going to kill him, but he ended up using his ethereal being. I don't remember what it's called. His oh god, I can't think of the word because I've drank a little bit. When he astroplane. Nope. It starts with an A.
Girl, I don't know.
Yeah, his astro form. Whatever, you guys all know. Someone help me out here. And he uses that to go inside of his body and destroy the rancid meat, demon meat that he ate. And he's able to escape Satana.
Even though she was like, oh man, well, I wanted him, but we'll get Tony Stark instead.
Yeah, let's go get Tony Stark. Let's go call up. And he's like, let's go call up Morrison, Jim Morrison, to make him go play some more guitar. Astral projection. Thank you. I knew I skipped to AstroTurf. Thank you, Trent. It is astral projection.
He used his AstroTurf form to get rid of the poison in his body.
Exactly.
His Appletini.
Good enough. That's close enough. So then you have him entering the orb. So he ends up falling into the cab, or he ends up going into the cab. He's in Newark, New Jersey, and he gets into a cab, and it's the orb, which is the entity that stole. Remember, we know who killed the Watcher, right? The Watcher died. Well, someone stole his eye, and he has it on his head, and he is now watching everything, but he's also kind of playing a part in it, and he's kind of morbid and a little bit grotesque. So he gets like Doctor Strange Wicked just gets no break. So at this point, he has no magic, really. He has limited magic because he's trying to learn how spells work now. He doesn't have his usual cape because, again, magic isn't working that way. So he just looks kind of like post-apocalyptic renegade
ninja, you know what I mean? Because he's got all these like
100%.
black clothing and then like just kind of like random weapons. You know,
Yes.
he looks more like he's ready to do like a recon mission in
Oh,
like
yeah.
a forest than he is like a typical Doctor Strange. And he's going from one place to another and just when he thinks he's done, surprise, he gets kidnapped again by this dude who one of the first things he does is just kill a dude. And he's like,
yeah.
see, you just watched me do that. And then he'll like take him to another place and then talk to somebody in his dreams and say, hey, you want to kill your neighbors. And then they get back in the car again.
He's so
like,
strange.
Man, no break. And then, you know, Wong's looking for him and then no luck.
No, of course. Because what the orb's taking him to is Mr. Misery, which
he
is
does
that...
look badass, that is true.
He is. And I like this version of Doctor Strange more
and
than
the art changes at this point too, which I think works really well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because there are a few issues where it's not done by Bacalo, it's done by someone else.
Yeah, because it
Kevin
was a little
Nolan?
bit rougher, but in a nice way. I think it suited him.
Yeah, Kevin
Nolan. His look, to the point where like, and they kept calling him all new Doctor Strange. And then for a second, well, all new, all different. I think they even used that term.
They did.
Which I thought was hilarious. Because at some point I was like, wait a second. What if this is like a Marvel thing and this is a new Doctor Strange? And I didn't realize because he's dressed different. But I was like, no, it's still him.
It's still him.
Different.
It's just different in a little bit.
Yeah.
Michael said, I have a few issues with these few issues. Yes, and we're definitely going to talk about that. Yes, because
Michael's got a lot of issues. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's very typical. Elliot makes that issues joke.
The issues joke?
All the time.
So as he comes back, so what the orb was really taken to is Mr. Misery, who, of course, wants to, I guess, get back at his father, really, because Doctor Strange is the creator of Mr. Misery, correct? And so he's trying to get back to him. But, of course, Mordo shows up because he can't let him have the last laugh. And when Mordo seems to fail, then Dormammu shows up, and Dormammu's like, I'm going to take that into my own hands. And if during these issues, we also get a lot of flashbacks of Doctor Strange's previous, his origin story, right? Where he encounters Dormammu for the first time, his first exorcism, where he encounters Mordo, for example. So we get a lot of those backstories. And then we get his fight with Dormammu. And then it ends up, he, draws in all the energy that he can from the earth in order to, almost basically what it does is teleport Dormammu with the help of Mordo to Shumagorath.
He does the spirit bomb and he collects all the energy from people on Earth, and then
Exactly. And Mordo's like, where do we take him? Well, he said he owed someone, and so it was Shumagorath, which, that's a good little callback to the earlier issues with the Empirical. So that leaves us with Mordo and Mr. Misery. Little does Doctor Strange know that Mr. Misery, in the meantime, we had Zelma and Wong were on the ghost plane, right, trying to help save Doctor Strange. Well, Wong encountered Mr. Misery, and he's like, ooh, I like you. And because he knew who Wong was, he ends up almost taking over Wong's body and escaping from the fray. So our last few issues then kind of are summing up the entire arc, which is with Mr. Misery, which is the price that Doctor Strange has to pay, right? Which is his pain and misery all manifested into this element that has now taken over his best friend, because let's face it, Wong is his best friend, right? And so him and Zelma are looking for him, trying to find him. Meanwhile, they're attacking Mr. Misery is attacking like the NYU Medical Center, all these, people who are going through pain and despair. And then we get a nice cameo from Jane Foster.
And not just people in despair, but like people that Doctor Strange just worked on before.
Exactly.
Which is the big thing. Like, these are people that before he became who he is, did successful surgeries on. He's like, he went there like, hey, Doctor Strange fixed you. Let me fuck it up.
Yep.
You can have it all back. That tumor?
Yep. He gave a lot of people tumors back. Yeah. And so it's by good chance that he happened to have Jane Foster's Thor. And it's funny that also Doctor Strange knows that it is Jane Foster, even though at this point we know that no one else knows that Jane Foster is the Thor at this time. But he's like, I need your help to fix all these people. So Mr. Misery escapes, but they're still there to clean up his aftermath, which is basically taking all these brain tumors out that Mr. Misery gave back to all of these different patients of his. So, of course, Thor, or Jane Foster as Thor, works with lightning speed to use her surgical skills. Sorry, my dogs are fighting each other for some reason. I don't know why. Okay. And they're able to help these people. And then in the meantime, he comes to find out that Wong has been taken over by Mr. Misery. And then we get to this big final showdown where he has to perform an exorcism on Wong. And he realizes at the end of the day that in order to draw Mr. Misery out, he has to inflict pain upon himself, which draws Mr. Misery because he likes pain. And then as they go through it, they have their last, run through the house. They get to see all the different areas of the house. And they're back at that kitchen, and he's passed out. And Zelma realizes they have to go to that refrigerator that he warned her about in the first few issues, and she has to feed him his food. And then he has to tell Wong, I don't love you. I don't care about you. And all that, because that to him is anguish, because he does love Wong. And he has to use that anguish of telling him, I don't care about you at all, that draws Mr. Misery in.
He had to white fang him.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, tell him to love him, tell him to leave.
And he's able to defeat Mr. Misery. And even though Zelma's about to shoot him in the head, Wong's like, no, we're good. It's over. It's fine. And so then that kind of ends that arc. And then we kind of have a nice denouement where him and Zelma are working together kind of as partners in a sense. And when they go through this magical journey expedition, and she gets attacked and almost dies. And he has to use some of his magical powers to help save her and gives her some part of the mystical. And so now she is able to perform magic and see some of the mystic, and she sees these like magical parasites, things that only he could see. Now she could see too. And it could be reversible if she chooses, and she decides to become his apprentice instead, which I think was a really fitting end to this whole 20-issue journey of Jason Aaron's Doctor Strange. So that is it. Did I say denouement? It is French, Shonda Sook. Thank you.
Yeah, it wrapped up very well, and that's something that I think Jason Aaron's really good at.
I think.
Now, granted, they do give him, Marvel gives him the space to do that. Some people, a lot of writers don't get a chance to finish their stories when they want to wrap it up. So I won't say that it's just because of him, but he does do a good job wrapping up stories, which I do really appreciate. Because 20 issues, it was very digestible. It was pretty easy to follow, even though, there are names I'm never going to be able to differentiate.
No, yes.
Probably unless I hear them more, because sometimes reading it doesn't translate to me as well. But it wrapped up very well. There were like two larger stories going throughout, and a couple of smaller ones. I think that was the perfect way to do that. It wasn't overdone, Hickman. It was just the perfect amount in there.
Yes,
I really liked it. And, I think the art was very good throughout. I really, really appreciate that. And for someone who's never read Doctor Strange, I've only seen the movie or seen Doctor Strange in other larger stories, I really, really enjoyed it.
I agree. Yeah, it's, like I said, it's the first time I'd read a Doctor Strange comic, and the first time that I'd read any comic outside We Had to Read this is my first Aaron comic too. So I had never, this is before I read Thor. This is before I read War of the Realms, anything like that. So after reading this, I think that's what propelled me to want to read Thor and then go on and read War of the Realms and anything else that Jason Aaron had ever done.
Oh yeah. Well, after Thor, I was like, I'll read anything Jason Aaron.
Yes. And I think, and on top of that, what makes it is the artwork. So I know you talked a little bit about the artwork, but I think Chris Bacalo's artwork, for instance, I think it's Nick Spencer's run of Spider-Man, the more recent run. There are some issues in the beginning where Chris Bacalo does some Spider-Man issues, and I was like, that artwork doesn't seem to fit Spider-Man. But here, it seems to really fit like Doctor Strange. So here's some examples, right? I don't want to get us in trouble, but just
you're okay by doing that.
Yeah, just the style of his artwork, the coloration, the lines, or the not lack thereof, but almost the differentiation between it, I think makes it for a very interesting, almost surreal kind of artwork, which for something like magic and this world that he's created, that Jason Aaron's created with magic, is very fitting.
Yeah, I think it really suits him. I think just the design of the character.
Agreed.
Like the unwillingness of the hair, it's just
yes,
because it's not so much cartoony. I don't know how to describe it. But it's
yeah.
There's
just
something about the style that does, it very much lends itself to this that I really, really liked.
And I think a lot of it also has to do with the coloration, which I think the colors were done by Kevin Nolan did some of the beginning colors, and then Rain Burrito, Kevin Nolan did a lot of the coloration too, which makes sense. I think that plays a big part into what makes it. So what did you really like about this, Maddie?
I just really liked his characterization. I really enjoyed following him throughout this. And I loved his crew. Really, this is kind of book that I like, because I like a lot of just modern. I mean, I love fantasy of all
Me too.
styles.
Yeah.
But I do have a special place in my heart for fantasy put in a modern, regular context, in a way where you don't see it as well, like Lost Girl, like Charmed, like the Dead Kingdom. I really enjoy stuff like that. I think there was a lot of humanity brought to the character. He was easy to relate to, and they didn't overcomplicate him. I think he was a very simple character on paper, as far as this is a trope. This is a growth I've seen before. This is a type of character archetype I've seen before, and that's not a bad thing. I really like it. Yes. I think it makes it very accessible to readers in a way that's oh, this is a character I get it immediately. I get it. Yes. And you already fall in love with him, and he's still more fun. He's less because you have I think a DC sort of equivalent, not Dr. Fate. That's very different. But I think Constantine's a closer.
I would agree with that
thing, but I think Constantine is way more self-deprecating than Doctor Strange, right? Yes. Even though the ego is there, they deal with it differently. Yes. I think it's kind of happier. Doctor Strange is. And I love
very typical of Marvel. I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed this. And eventually I'll reread it and understand the characters more. I like the other side character names more.
Exactly. That's what I keep hoping. Excellent. Yeah.
What about you? I mean, it's your second reread, so
this is my second reread, and I think the first read through that I did, and granted that was 2 years. That was 2018, so that was a long time ago. The first read through I have of it, it was the story. It was just felt so modern to me, and I had seen some Doctor Strange comics in the past, and I got this outdated view of the Ancient One of Wong and things like that. So to see it all in Jason Aaron's light, it really invigorated me to keep reading this series and keep going. I remember how quickly I read through the trade paperbacks, which now I have sold off because these were much better.
Well, yeah, I think those editions are better because it's the
10. Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I feel like it's a good homage to previous Strange, which is very psychedelic because it's still included there, but it's not so overwhelming, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I went into this a little worried about the characterization of characters like Wong, because in older Marvel, there's a lot of really bad Asian stereotypes.
Oh, 100%. I think they even showed them in the Infinity Gauntlet that we've read before, things of that nature. I know that there are some bad characterizations of certain type of characters like Wong. Well, Wong was in the Infinity Gauntlet for a time because Doctor Strange makes an appearance in there. So I agree. Yes,
I think they did a very good job of that, because you're given a limited palette, right? Because you're well, this is how the character was made, right? But I think he did well, because I was worried. I was worried about
exactly. But and I love the addition of Zelma, his Girl Friday almost in a way, but she had a lot of her own agency throughout the book, right?
Yeah, and she
came to him because she had a problem. Yeah, she was very chill.
She decided everything she wanted to do, which she was relatable.
Very relatable. Yes, she's like a doctor. She's like a Doctor Who companion, but
but not into him.
Yeah, not into him. Definitely,
she's probably gay. That's the vibe I got.
She's she's like a Donna. She doesn't care about him. She's not a Martha where she's in love with him. She just
I agree. I mean, Star and Doctor would obviously get along well, right?
Yes.
She would ultimately get back with Constantine, even though it's not exactly always a healthy relationship, right? But she would date Doctor Strange for a while.
Exactly. So what did you have any issues with these 20 issues that you read?
No, not really. So, there's some points where a lot was going on.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
So it could be a little bit hard to follow in that, but not enough that made me want to stop reading at any
Yes, I
point,
agree.
you know, because like when in the first arc, there was a lot happening, a lot of different creatures, and there's a lot of people at play.
Oh,
And I
100%.
think it would have felt a little bit different had I known some of them too. So I kind of related to what their world was like.
Especially
But
when
I
they
don't,
start talking about the different areas that were losing power or losing their magic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think it that could be a little bit difficult to kind of like follow and see who exactly is who, especially towards the end because you've got a couple different enemies that Doctor Strange was fighting at the same time, and so you're like, wait, what's but I honestly I think he did a very good job. I really liked it.
I did, yeah. The only issue I had, I think, was inputting the few issues you had right after he defeats the Imperator, and then we have these
My
few
bad,
issues.
Jessica. I was thinking Zatanna when he said, I didn't think Zatara. You know what? Yeah, let's do it. Write your fanfic, Jessica. Zatara and Doctor Strange.
Are we talking about Zatara is like Zuko and Katara from Avatar: The Last Airbender?
No.
No, okay, because I was like, when I think of a Zatara ship, that's what they call it.
Sometimes in Young Justice, Zatara is what? Dr. Fate, right? So
yes, exactly. Cyclops is better than Wolverine said, not enough talking snakes. Those talking snakes were a great comic relief throughout when they showed up in the beginning and end talking to people. But I think my biggest issue was just those middle issues. I loved seeing all of his old enemies coming back to take revenge on him, if you will. But it just kind of felt
like that one guy.
Yeah. Like it kind of felt out of place in the overall plot of magic is gone and what are we going to do about it, right? And then of course with Mr. Misery's arc, we had this whole big, just like meh, like, and I don't feel like they really addressed the fact that magic's gone. It's just coming back slowly. But it would have been cool if
some
we could have
people still really had magic.
Yeah, so would it like Mordo had magic, and I was like, is it because of Dormammu?
And he kept showing up, and I was like.
Would it have been cooler to see how they deal with bringing back magic into our world and not really relying on his old enemies? It's always good for those who are Doctor Strange fans to see callbacks to, like, obviously Dormammu, Shumagorath, Mordo, Nightmare. They're big. I mean, if I've read a Wikipedia on Doctor Strange, those are people you would see as his main villains, right? So it was cool to see them show up in there, but I think that would have been my only issue is those middle few issues just seemed kind of out of place and took me away from.
If this was a manga, we would have had 2 chapters that were like a side story that just focused on other people in the world that tend to cross his path, that rely on magic and how they would have been affected by it. And I would have loved to see it. Yeah, but I think comic books are like constrained, right? They can't ever have enough issues.
No, you can never.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it would have been nice. Because it seemed like a big deal for Doctor Strange, but not a big deal for other people.
Yeah, we didn't get to see the impact on like Scarlet Witch or Dr. Voodoo, or Mr. Medigo, or all those different people. So, I mean, we got to see a little bit of the bar with no doors.
Manny, exactly.
Yeah,
and also,
the most important person.
You would think the bar with no doors he wouldn't be able to go into.
Yes, and how's the guy with the floating head still there? If magic doesn't exist, how can his head still float?
To meet at a McDonald's. You know what I mean? Where they were like,
oh my God, that'd be
the bar's closed. We're hanging out at the
subway
next door.
Or Starbucks, because it's New York City. There'd be a Starbucks in every corner.
I would have fixed it that way, I think.
That would have been hilarious if they all met at a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Because the bar with no doors, how would it exist? How would the guy with the floating head exist? Like little things like that. But overall, I think what Jason Aaron did with taking Doctor Strange and changing up the rules of magic and changing it up, making it edgier and things like that, I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and that is a storyline I really enjoy, where it's like, okay, everything's gone. You've got to rebuild it. You've got to try new things. You figure out what works and what doesn't. You've got to invent the wheel now. And I do really like stuff like that, especially with like Doctor Strange, because I think, he's not the first person to do this. He learned from somebody else. He had to be trained.
Yep.
It's not like he's been doing this for a very, very long time.
No, not
in whatever continuity this is. Like, so he's like, well, shit, I have to do this now. Like, I live with other people. I've got to be.
How am I going to fix magic?
Yeah, exactly.
So no, I agree 100%. And that's why, like, then I read Donny Cates' Strange afterwards. I had read his run as well. And so he continues on with that, this kind of characterization of Doctor Strange. And, I continue to love it. So, yeah, because of Jason Aaron, I definitely, and well, of course, Bacalo. I think he does I hope I'm saying that right, but I think he does such a good job with the artwork in this comic. I think it fits Doctor Strange. Others, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a fan of how he does some of the other superheroes, but for Doctor Strange, I think he was like, his artwork was made to make Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and that's that's typical. Some artists aren't meant to do. There's some people that aren't meant to do everything.
I agree.
There's people that are just very well suited for certain things.
Exactly.
So what would you rate this? It's your second time. Do you think it would change? You feel the same way?
My overall rating of it would probably be an 8 out of 10 because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a few issues, obviously, with the plot, but overall, yeah. And then some, I didn't like Kevin Nolan. I liked his coloring, but when he did some of the artwork, I wasn't a fan of his artwork when he did some of the issues too. So 8 out of 10 for me. What about you?
We did it again. Because
you went 8 out of 10.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I think it's really good.
Yes,
and it's unfortunate because I can't help but compare this to other Jason Aaron works.
Of course. Why? Yeah, I agree.
Feels fair and not fair at the same time, but
because he had more issues to work with, with Jane Foster with Thor, right? He had a lot of issues.
I love Thor immediately.
Oh yeah, it did not take long.
There's something to Thor that I loved every issue, every arc, 10 out of 10 completely the whole time. And I didn't feel that way about this. I liked it just fine, but I feel like that's how I felt about it. I was like, well, it was better than just fine, and I enjoyed it, but it's not enough that I ended. I was like, oh my God, can you believe this? And at Thor, that's how I felt. I went through an emotional journey, and this is just, oh, sweetie.
He just is what he is.
But yeah, I think I agree. We you and I tend to have the same. We do have the same. So I already thought my head, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And you say 8 out of 10. I was like, we did it again. No one's going to believe us.
They're just like, yeah, no, but it's true. Yeah. We tend to have similar tastes. My cat's all over the place. Okay. And first of all, Dat Boy Steve, besides Tom Holland, I've read a lot.
Oh, you've given things 10s. Yeah.
Yes, there's quite a few books on here that we've given 10 out of 10s. That is not Tom Holland. Though if you guys have seen some of his pictures from the Uncharted movie that he's doing, it's very exciting. Anyways. Yeah, but that is Jason. What about everyone else? What did everyone else chat who has read the book? What would you guys rate Jason Aaron's Doctor Strange? Because I see some people have read the book, some people have not. So what would you rate Jason Aaron's?
While we're waiting, Tavon says that Strange Academy is a solid follow-up to Loss of Magic in this run.
That's awesome.
And people have been mentioning Strange Academy throughout the chat.
I noticed that too.
I will check it out.
Yes. Has anyone else read this one? I know that Trish said that Donny Cates' run is wonderful, but my far is Mark Waid. And I have not read
I love anything Mark Waid.
I know. I have his Fantastic Four on my shelf ready to read, but I chose Hickman's Fantastic Four because I never read it. So that's what I chose for this month. As a thing.
But no, I think Jason, Mark, those are two writers that really understand the characterization of superhero characters, and they really do care about that. They care about the human version of them a lot, which is why I like both of them. 8 sacrifices out of 10.
For this one, that's what it takes, right? Jessica said 7.25. I enjoyed my time, but probably wouldn't read it again anytime soon. And then Trent said, I prefer when the Sorcerer Supreme is a sorcerer, but not bad, 6 out of 10. And I can definitely see that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, fair.
For this run, for the most of it, he was lacking magic. So we didn't get to see Doctor Strange at what would be his ultimate, abilities. So I can see that.
Hayden, you're killing me. Ellie has left the house to wander the earth alone on never-ending quest of redemption as he battles both literal and personal demons while searching for Maddie's cider, the amazing cider man.
Good for you, Elliot. I hope you find that. Trish gave it a 7 out of 10. So that's good. So a lot of these are on par with what, pretty much on par with what we said as well.
Yeah. I think this is my third Jason Aaron. I'm sure I read more than that, but I read his Star Wars run too, and I liked that. And that came from very limited Star Wars like knowledge.
So, oh gosh, it's already 9:00, guys. So we are coming up to the end of the hour. And so with that, so next week we're doing Spider-Man Worldwide. Am I correct on my own schedule that I made? Okay.
I trust you.
Yes, that's what I think I chose.
I believe you.
Yes. So it'll be back on its regular time on Tuesday, December 8th. And Omar will be back. The Uncanny Omar, he'll be back to join us for Over a New Reader, where we will be talking about Dan Slott's Amazing Spider-Man Worldwide, which is like the second comic I've read since then. And Michael also gave us.
Are we all going to watch that Marvel 616 documentary before that, so we can also talk about how the internet's basically outed Dan Slott as like the laziest writer of Marvel?
Yes,
have you seen that episode?
No, I have not. And where
it's
is
on
that
Disney Plus. I think I'm going to watch it this weekend because
when
that episode came out, everyone was like, basically Dan Slott's like the shittiest employer at Marvel.
Well, he still gets freaking books. So
that was their bit. They're like, mediocre guy makes everybody wait for him.
Yes.
Deliver scripts late. Like, yeah, Phil. Seriously, like I was gone for a day, and then basically Twitter exploded with Dan Slott, like about 616, about like the documentary, and also I think he was shitty to like trans people on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was.
Just heads up about Dan Slott.
Yeah, and we're doing.
It was.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
It was Gail Simone on the show. Can you believe that? I'll never get over it.
Hey, Marvel Bab. And Hayden wants to know how much Worldwide. All of Dan Slott's run. We're doing the entirety of it. If that helps you with that.
Yeah.
So I believe I could go grab my oversized hardcovers, but I probably
just remind me how long it is so I make sure that I
have it all. Yes, I know. Because Omar went through, I was like, Omar, I want to read this, this, and this. And he's like, okay, well, this is that many issues. This is that many issues. This is that many issues. And he's like, those are good. I was like, oh, good. So, yes. And Shonda Sook said, I got to read up on Slott. Haven't read Marvel in years. Yeah, because then, he's done Spider-Man Worldwide. He also did the more recent Fantastic Four run that recently came out in like 2019. He did that as well. So I have a couple of signed individual issues, single issues from him that Omar got for me when he was at a Baltimore comic convention.
Man, I remember cons.
Yeah, remember those things used to be a thing?
Yeah, China's like, so she tweeted about the show like towards the end, like right after, and she was like, hey, I'm in the chat on the show, and they like are still not convinced it's me, because I'm never convinced. It could be anybody. We've had people with all sorts of names, right? And so I think it's fake. I don't want to be like caught unaware and get embarrassed, right? What if I had tweeted her after? No.
Yes.
But she's very nice.
Spidey Worldwide is going to be the whole 36 issues, if that helps anyone.
Okay.
That's
doable. I had to read all of Bombshells 2 weeks ago. In like 2 hours, because I didn't realize it was 100 issues.
Yes. Well, luckily that's like the longest thing we have. Well, no, Hickman's Fantastic Four is 42 issues. So
and that I know that I'll be prepared for.
And that's not until the end of the month.
And I'm excited for that because I haven't read any Hickman since Adventures, which was such a traumatic experience for me.
Yeah, I know.
But I've heard such good things about his Fantastic Four. It'll be my first Fantastic Four, so my
first Fantastic Four.
I'm gonna go in with like more positive expectations, because even though I do give Hick Avengers a very hard time, I'm still open to other experiences. Oh wait, never mind. I did read Hoxpox. Never mind. That's Hick.
Yeah,
I like that enough, but I never finished it, so I can't speak for it.
Yeah, and then just so you guys know, so after Spider-Man, and then we have December 15th is our Patreon pick, which is Omega Man by Tom King or Black Science Volume 1 by Rick Remender. Two things I have not read, but I own and I want to read. And then we're going to do a short book for December 22nd, since we're butting it up against Christmas, which is Nightwing Year 1, which I just bought as well, which I also want to read. And then we'll finish up with Fantastic Four on my actual birthday, so I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds like
and yes, it sounds like a good month. And then Trish said, will Omar be back next week? Yes, Omar will be back next week on the show. Yeah. Because this week was Melanie's birthday, so he took off this week for that, which rightly so. If I was his wife, I'd want him to take off too. It's time with me. So anyways, so that is our show for tonight, guys. I guess I'll sign us off. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and remember to follow us on all of our social media channels at Near Mint Con. If you want to check us out on Redbubble, we have some great near mint condition merchandise there for the time being.
Buy it as a Christmas present.
As a Christmas present.
Take a picture and send it to us so we know.
Yes, you can get some near mint condition socks. Wouldn't that be something amazing to get? I don't know. I'm just saying. And then if you want to support us, make sure to check out our Patreon for $1 a month. But more than that, if you want to contribute more, you can get some fantastic perks for being a patron of Near Mint Condition. And last but not least, guys, remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint. I am so glad to be back. Glad to have Maddie here with me. We will see you all next week for Spider-Man Worldwide. So bye, guys. Have a great evening.